What is balance? Hi, my name is Doug. I've been a physical therapist for 30 years and I specialize in helping people with balance problems learn to walk again. In this video, I'm going to answer the question of what is balance? So what really is balance? When we say that we're balanced, what is it that we're feeling or what's telling our brain that we actually are steady? Well, that's an interesting question. There's a lot of different systems in our body that all report to our brain to tell us whether we're balanced or not. There's our visual system, which tells us what obstacles are in front of us, what we're facing, and it also tells us if we're tilting or not. There's the vestibular system, which starts off in the inner ear and tells our brain whether or not we're accelerating or tilting or moving up and down against gravity. There's also the proprioceptive system, which is in the occipital lobe in the brain, but it tells us whether or not our arms are up or down, where we are in space, where our arms and legs are in space, and our body. And then there's also the limbic system. The limbic system tells us whether or not we're afraid of something. If we feel like some situation is going to challenge our balance, even if we're very steady, we still feel like our balance is off. There's also the balance programming. In other words, your brain knows whether or not you have a good program to do something. If you've never ridden a bicycle before, if you've never walked on a balance beam before, even if your balance is excellent, if your brain knows that you've never tried this before, you're going to feel unsteady when you do it because the programming isn't quite there yet. So actually, when you talk about being balanced, it's all of these systems, the vestibular system, the proprioceptive system, the visual system, the limbic system, the balance programming system, all of those report to one area of the brain. And if all of them are telling you that you're fine, that you're balanced, that everything is A-okay, then you feel balanced. And if any one of those systems is reporting a problem, then you're not balanced. The concept of balance really has two perspectives. There's what someone feels about their balance, and there's how well they're balancing in situations. So how someone feels is an interesting question. When you're in certain situations, if you feel that you're about to fall, or if you feel that you're unsteady, then you don't feel that your balance is quite right. But how someone feels is very different than how they perform. A lot of people are completely unaware that their balance is off. But when you observe them and you watch them, they look unsteady. So we might say that person doesn't have good balance when we watch them walk on uneven surfaces or stepping over things, but the person might perceive it as they're perfectly fine. In my 30 years of doing physical therapy, I can tell you there's a big difference between those two things. So another question is balance something that we're born with or something that we learn? Well, it turns out that it's not something we're born with. When a baby starts to walk, they do not have good balance. We actually learn balance through performing activities. Through challenging our balance, we learn how to balance in all different situations. On one hand, we're learning balance programming. We learn how to walk backwards, step over something, walk sideways, balance on a beam. We learn how to stand on one leg and catch a ball. All of these things we're not born with. But over time, we learn these skills. And that's why people that are gymnasts or basketball players, their level of balance is much higher than someone who doesn't do those types of activities. Challenging activities are how we build and improve our balance. And it also is how we maintain our balance. If you stop doing challenging activities, even if your balance is at a very high level, you lose that level of balance. So if you're a professional basketball player and you retire 10 years later of not doing any basketball and not performing any kind of sports, your balance is not as good as it was when you were in the NBA playing basketball every day. So now that you understand that balance is actually the result of all these different systems telling your brain that you're balanced, you might wonder how balance relates to falling. Well, when you look at the research, and there has been a lot of research asking the question of why do people fall and how can you prevent falls, you might be surprised to learn that strength is not the reason that people fall. In study after study, when you look at older people, people who've had neurological injuries like strokes or diseases like Parkinson's disease, strength is not the reason that people fall. Study after study has shown that it's a lack of practicing your balance that leads to falling. Usually, balance declines because people stop challenging it. So if you stop walking outside on uneven surfaces, or if you stop going shopping at the grocery store, if you stop walking in parking lots, all of those things are very challenging to our balance. By doing them, we maintain our level of balance. And what we find when you look at the research is that people that fall tend not to do those activities. A lot of times, people that fall frequently are only walking from their bedroom to the kitchen and to the bathroom. And that small amount of walking is not enough to maintain our balance. What's more interesting is that walking more doesn't improve our balance. And that's a surprising finding even for me. I always thought the more you walked, the better your balance would be. It turns out that's not true. Because when you're walking on level surfaces, or if you're using an assisted device like a walker or a stroller to walk behind, you're not really challenging your balance. So while you are improving your fitness, your strength, and your endurance, you're not improving your balance. Balance is something that improves with challenge. There is a common perception that as we age, we automatically lose our balance. I believe the general public wholeheartedly believes the concept that as someone gets older, their balance simply gets worse and worse, that there's nothing that we can do to prevent balance loss. 30 years of being a physical therapist and reading a tremendous amount of research on balance and aging has shown me that that is simply not true. The concept of use it or lose it is very applicable to the concept of balance. If you constantly challenge your balance, you do not lose your balance. I have met people that are in their 80s, 90s, and even people that are over 100 that have excellent balance, that have no disequilibrium, that a lot of times have better balance than 70-year-olds that I work with. The reason is they're challenging their balance. They're doing things throughout the day that keep their balance system intact. Another important misconception that the public has about balance is that once you lose it, you can't regain it. And all of the research I've read and my own experience, this is also untrue. I work with people every day that have lost their balance due to a neurologic injury like a stroke, a disease like Parkinson's, head injury, or people who have just not practiced balance for years and who are falling all the time. I can tell you that it is always possible to regain your balance. The key is you have to do it progressively. You have to start with a very, very small challenge, something that's not going to cause you to fall down, but will challenge your balance, and kind of go from there. Balance can be improved if you safely do it slowly. Another misconception that I hear every day is that someone is falling because they don't have good strength. Oftentimes when people watch someone who's losing their balance or hear about someone that's falling a lot, the first idea is they must have lost all of their strength, and if we improve their strength, they're going to stop falling. Study after study has shown this not to be true. It doesn't stop doctors, physical therapists, the general public, and well-meaning people from thinking that strength is the key to balance. I can tell you that there have been very good studies that have shown that if you take people that are falling and you improve their strength significantly, you have them doing CrossFit, weightlifting, powerlifting, all these different types of exercises, that they do get stronger, but they don't stop falling. The reason is because most falls are a result of bad balance programming. Most falls are because our system that tells us how to handle an event where we're unsteady is just not well practiced. When you're young, you don't know how to resist a fall. So children that are first learning to walk, they fall all the time. But then we practice things like standing on one leg, hopping up and down, using a ball while we're running. We play sports like basketball. We do things like gymnastics. Our balance gets better and better when we're young because we're practicing balance challenging activities. As we get older, we stop doing these activities as much because we're busy with other things. But the problem is our balance declines because we're not doing these balance challenging activities. So when you look at someone that's falling, that's maybe 65 or 75, and they're starting to have some falls, the idea that they're having falls because they're weak is actually untrue. They're having falls because they're not practicing balance challenging activities as much. And so if you want to help someone like that, if you are someone like that and you want to prevent falling, what you want to do is practice things that challenge your balance. I hope you found this video helpful. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel. And if you would like to work with a therapist or trainer that's trained in the techniques that you just saw, they can go to proprioceptiverehab.com to get training from me in exactly how to do this. I offer a course in proprioceptive rehabilitation for physical therapists and personal trainers.